Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the worst SUVs made by every car brand. Number 7. Jeep Renegade. Hey there, guess what? Jeep is now part of the cool kids club called the Stellantis Group. Now, not to throw shade at the whole squad, but let's talk about the black sheep, the Jeep Renegade. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this ride takes the crown for being the absolute worst in the gang. I wouldn't bet my lunch money on anyone rushing to snag a brand new Renegade in 2024. It's like willingly signing up for a roller coaster of disappointment. It has poor build quality, a reliability record that's shockier than a Jenga tower, and safety scores that make you question if they've ever heard of airbags. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Performance, meh. Fuel economy, don't even get me started. It's like the Renegade is trying to set a record for how many boxes it can check in the not impressed category. Let's not forget the design, or lack thereof. It's like they asked a toddler to draw a car and voila, the Renegade was born. And did I mention the price tag? Hold on to your wallets because this ride comes with a price that's as inflated as a balloon at a birthday party. Luckily, it seems like most folks out there have enough common sense to steer clear of the Renegade. Smart move, my friends. Smart move. Number 6. Ford Explorer. Alright, buckle up for a ride through the not-so-great terrain of Ford's lineup, where the Explorer takes the cake for being the least thrilling option. Now, don't get me wrong, the Explorer is like that popular kid in school who somehow falls short of expectations. It's a 3-row mid-size FUV that's riding the wave of popularity. But within the Ford family, it's basically the black sheep. Picture this. You step inside the Explorer, and you're greeted with an interior that's not exactly throwing a party. It's a bit cramped, and the materials used might make you wonder if they raided the bargain bin. The technology is rocking a vintage vibe, and not in a cool, retro way. We're talking dated, like the flip phone you found in the back of your drawer. Now, let's talk performance. The base 4-cylinder engine is like the tortoise in the race, slow and not winning any prizes. Fuel economy? Well, let's just say it's not breaking any records. Sure, it's a speed demon, but be ready to break the bank because that upgrade comes with a hefty price tag. Quality and reliability. Well, let's just say they've taken a bit of a hit in recent years. The Explorer seems to be struggling in the popularity contest, and not in a charming underdog way. The Explorer might be a classic case of it's not you, it's me. But for now, it's probably best to swipe left on this one. Number 5, Volkswagen Taos. Let's talk about the Volkswagen Taos. And no, we're not giving it a standing ovation. This little subcompact crossover SUV made its debut a couple of years ago, but it seems like it missed the memo on being a good ride. Despite its seemingly charming appearance, the Taos has a laundry list of issues that might make you want to reconsider. First off, driving this thing feels like a bumpy roller coaster on a dirt road. It's about as refined as a rock concert in a blender. Not exactly the smoothest experience. Why? Well, blame it on the all-wheel drive versions that come equipped with a dual-clutch transmission. Now, dual-clutch transmissions have a reputation for being a bit jerky, especially when you're cruising at lower speeds. But wait, there's more. The Taos suffers from a case of performance blues, courtesy of its underpowered 1.4-liter engine. Plus, don't get too excited about saving on gas. The fuel economy is nothing to write home about. Now, let's talk dollars and cents. The Taos isn't exactly handing out bargains. In fact, it's asking for more cash than it deserves. For the amount they're charging, you could easily snag a much better small SUV and still have some change left over for a celebratory ice cream cone. Number 4, Chevrolet Blazer. Alright, so let's talk about Chevy's Blazer. It's like the worst dish in a restaurant that's known for its cooking disasters. Now, this SUV is kind of like the kid who promises a magic show but pulls a disappearing act on you. You step inside and it's like a budget-friendly spaceship. There's space, sure, but it's like they built it with spare change. The materials scream discount store, and the tech is like an outdated smartphone. Not exactly the futuristic experience you were hoping for. Under the exterior, there's a 3.6-liter V6 engine that has a track record worse than a one-hit wonder. It's got timing chain issues, oil consumption. Basically, it's the car equivalent of Murphy's Law. You know, everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and considering the price they're asking for, it's like paying extra for a side of disappointment. GM has a reputation And let's just say it's not always for creating masterpieces. Even by their standards, the Blazer is like the last kid picked in gym class. So, if you're thinking about throwing your hard-earned cash at this SUV, my advice would be to save it for something that won't leave you scratching your head and wondering, did I just make a huge mistake? Number 3. Mazda MX-30. Meet Mazda, the company known for churning out some pretty impressive vehicles. Seriously, they've got a knack for making cars that are nothing short of excellent. However, every family has that one oddball cousin, and in Mazda's lineup, it's the MX-30. Now, the MX-30 might not be a household name, and honestly, I can't blame you if you haven't heard of it. This small electric crossover is like the wallflower at the car party, unpopular and not exactly flying off the shelves. And let me tell you, it's not winning any popularity contests for good reasons. The electric drivetrain in the MX-30 is a bit lackluster. We're talking about a range of around 100 miles on a full charge. In 2024, that's just laughable. I mean, come on, even my grandma's mobility scooter can go farther. Now, let's dive into the design, or lack thereof. It's got an odd layout with only 2 proper doors. I mean, who does that? And don't even get me started on the interior, cramped doesn't even begin to cover it. With all these downsides, poor performance, limited range, and questionable design choices, there's really no good reason to consider buying the MX-30. To add a cherry on top of this lackluster cake, Mazda has finally waved the white flag and announced they're pulling the plug on the MX-30. Can't say we're surprised considering its slow sales. So, if you were ever pondering the idea of owning an MX-30, well, let's just say there are way better options out there. Number 2, Hyundai Santa Cruz. Let's talk about the not-so-great Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now, don't get me wrong, it's designed to be a light-duty pickup truck, and it does have that cozy, car-like feel when you're behind the wheel. It's like driving your favorite pair of slippers but with wheels. However, if you're expecting it to tackle hardcore truck tasks, well, brace yourself for a bit of disappointment. The Santa Cruz comes with a not-so-impressive 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. And guess what? Hyundai decided to keep it exclusive to the US. Sorry, Canada. No underpowered Santa Cruz for you. Sure, there's an optional 2.5 turbo engine. That adds some oomph, but it brings along its own baggage like an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Jerky, unrefined, and a bit of a reputation for being unreliable. Not exactly qualities you'd want in a truck. Now, speaking of reliability, these Santa Cruz trucks are already having their fair share of issues straight out of the factory. Imagine what could happen down the road when they face the usual wear and tear of being a pickup truck. I'm no fortune teller, but it doesn't sound like a promising road ahead. I wouldn't bet my money on it, that's for sure. So here's the deal. If you're in the market for a cozy, light-duty truck that won't leave you questioning your life choices, there are better options out there. Number 1. Honda Passport. Let's shift gears and cruise into the world of Honda. Now, just like Mazda, Honda doesn't really whip up any bad vehicles. However, if we were to pick one that's not exactly the shining star of the lineup, it would be the Honda Passport. If you're on the lookout for a spacious midsize subwoofer, the Passport's got your back. It's just that, when you stack it up against Honda's other SUVs, it's like the Passport is rocking a vintage vibe. Now, before we hit the Passport with too much side-eye, let's be clear, it's not terrible, it's just that, compared to its Honda siblings, it's starting to look a bit old school. Especially when we talk about the touchscreen infotainment system. Plus, when you peek at the CR-V, which is not only cheaper, but also flaunts fresher technology, and even comes in a hybrid version, the Passport has some catching up to do. Oh, and let's not forget the larger-than-life Pilot. Basically, the Passport's cooler cousin with a third row of seats. So, the Passport finds itself in a bit of a sticky situation. Not as budget-friendly as the CR-V, not as cutting-edge as the rest of the gang. And with this, we have reached the end of this video. If you found it helpful, then make sure to like it and subscribe the channel for future upcoming videos.